There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from trying to be understood by someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. We have all been there. You are seated at a table, metaphorically or literally. Across from you is a boss, a partner, or a friend. The air is thick with accusation. You're talking, explaining, clarifying. You're laying out your intentions like a deck of cards, face up, desperate for them to see that you are not the villain. But the more you speak, the less they hear. Your words are just fuel for their fire. You think that if you can just find the perfect sentence, the perfect explanation, the conflict will resolve. You think that if you stay in the room long enough, you can fix it. But here's the brutal truth that ancient philosophy whispers, while modern psychology screams. By staying at the table, by engaging in the circular argument, you are not fighting for a resolution. You are fighting for permission to exist. And the moment you stand up, turn your back, and walk away without a final word, the dynamic shifts violently. The silence you leave behind is louder than any argument you could ever win. Why does this simple act of removing yourself cause such chaos in the minds of others? And more importantly, why is it the only path to saving your own sanity? Let's explore the psychology of the exit. In the modern world, we are conditioned to believe that quitting is a sign of weakness. We are told to fight for relationships, to grind through toxic work environments, to hash it out until everyone is happy. But the Stoics viewed the world through a colder, more pragmatic lens. They operated on the principle of Autarkeia, self-sufficiency. This is not about living in a cave. It is about emotional self-sufficiency. It is the realization that your dignity is not a negotiation. Epictetus. The slave-turned-philosopher taught that we are actors in a play. We do not choose the role, nor do we choose the other actors. But we choose how we play our part. Sometimes the script calls for you to exit the stage while the other actors are still screaming their lines. When you walk away, you are engaging in the ultimate act of the dichotomy of control. You are acknowledging that you cannot control their perception of you, you cannot control their anger, and you cannot control their narrative. You can only control your own presence. But here is the paradox. When you stop trying to control them and instead control your own feet by walking away, you often trigger a psychological collapse in the other person. This isn't a tactic. It isn't a strategy to get them to chase you. If you walk away hoping they will follow, you are still manipulating and you are still a slave to their reaction. True power is walking away because there is nothing left for you there. The fact that it drives them crazy is merely collateral damage. Why does your absence disturb them so deeply? To understand this, we must look at the psychological tug-of-war. Most dysfunctional interactions are based on resistance. The other person pushes you, push back. They accuse you, defend. They insult you, get angry. This friction provides them with a sense of stability. It validates their worldview. If they can make you angry, they matter. If they can make you defend yourself, they hold authority. Imagine you are holding a rope, pulling with all your might against an opponent. Suddenly, you drop the rope. What happens to them? They fall. When you walk away, you create a vacuum. You remove the resistance they were leaning against. They are no longer fighting you. They are fighting the empty space where you used to be. This drives people to the brink because it denies them the dopamine hit of the conflict. They wanted a reaction, and you gave them nothing. In that silence, they are forced to sit with their own unfinished business. You are no longer the villain they can blame for their unhappiness. You are simply gone. Let's look at this through the metaphor of the courtroom. In almost every conflict, we subconsciously enter a courtroom. We treat the other person as the judge. We stand in the dock presenting evidence of our goodness. I didn't mean it that way. Or, I did this for you. We believe that if we present enough evidence, the judge will bang the gavel and say, innocent. But in toxic dynamics, the judge is rigged. They have already written the verdict before you opened your mouth. The Stoic realizes that this courtroom is illegitimate. You do not need to be acquitted by someone who benefits from finding you guilty. Walking away is the act of walking out of the courtroom while the trial is still in session. It is a rejection of their authority to judge you. This is terrifying to a manipulator or a narcissist. Their power relies entirely on your participation in the trial. By leaving, you are not saying, "I am innocent." You're saying, "You have no jurisdiction here." There is a darker psychological reason why walking away is so potent. It involves the mirror effect. People often project their shadows onto us. They criticize in us what they hate in themselves. They provoke us to hide their own instability. As long as you are there reacting and engaging, you are a distraction. You are the screen onto which they project their movie. When you walk away, the screen disappears. Now they are staring into a void, and in that void, the only thing left to see is themselves. This is why they frantically try to pull you back. They text, they call, they slander you to others. They are not trying to get you back. They are trying to get their distraction back. They are terrified of the silence because in the silence, the echo of their own behavior becomes deafening. A Stoic understands this. You do not walk away to punish them with the mirror. You walk away because you refuse to be the screen. We must be honest about the price of this power. If you choose to walk away, do not expect applause. Do not expect them to suddenly realize your worth and apologize. That is a fantasy, not philosophy. When you walk away, you will likely be villainized. They will tell stories about how you abandoned them. They will rewrite history to make your exit look like an act of aggression. The Stoic accepts this. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he would meet ungrateful, arrogant, and deceitful people. He did not expect them to change. Walking away means accepting being the bad guy in their story, so you can be the free man in yours. It requires an internal fortitude that most people do not possess. It requires you to value your own peace more than you value their approval. Walking away is not about winning. In fact, to the outside observer, it often looks like losing. It looks like giving up, but there is a quiet, terrifying liberation in it. It is the realization that you are not responsible for fixing people who do not want to be fixed. You are not responsible for explaining your soul to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. The door's always there. It has always been there. You do not need to slam it. You do not need to make a grand speech before you cross the threshold. You simply step through. The power doesn't come from their reaction. It doesn't matter if they rage or if they cry or if they stay silent. The power comes from the fact that you are no longer watching the show. You have returned to yourself. So the next time you find yourself in the heat of the argument explaining your worth to a deaf audience, pause, look at the door, and ask yourself, what would happen if I just stopped playing?